Welcome to the Mystic Hour with Clare Stone and Nathaniel Warren.
Welcome, everyone, to the Mystic Hour, where, of course, I'm one of your hosts, Nathaniel Warren, as always, joined in the studio by my co-host, Clare Stone. Welcome back. So, the Mystic Hour, for anyone that hasn't listened to the show before, is the show where we get to talk about anything we want. It's almost like a podcast type style when we do these mystical chats. Of course, sometimes we're speaking about astrology, new moons, full moons, star signs, all of it. That is all encompassed in the Mystic Hour. But this week it is a mystical chat. So basically, Clare has no idea what we're going to be talking about today, and she has let me take the reins of just writing out a couple of questions, and I'm just going to fire them at you. So, like I said to you before we started the show today, I think today is going to be more of a sort of going over bases that we've already touched, but maybe not completely covered.
Okay.
So, so I think an interesting place to start, I've just got a list of ideas that I wanted to speak about. The first being witch covens.
Okay.
That seems like quite a fascinating concept. So I just almost wanted to get the breakdown of what is a witch coven, how popular or actually how often do you see them? How reoccurring are they?
Well, they're quite popular now. Like, a lot of people do them now. It used to be like an underground thing that you'd be in a coven and it was all, mystical, whatever. Now, housewives do it. They all join the little covens. Like, I know one I joined ages ago, but then I left because it was a bit not coven-y enough for me.
Right, yeah.
It wasn't witchy enough. It was, but yeah, it was more kind of like this journal and stuff like that. That can be type of a coven, but I was like, no, I can't do that. It needs to be spells and rituals and everything like that, like proper full on. But yeah, like covens back in the day were kind of more like you were deep hardcore into witchcraft. Now, yeah, anyone can do it. Anyone can be in a coven. Anyone can make up a spell from something.
All the posers.
Yeah, that's what it is, actually. That's what it is, Nathaniel. That's why I'm like, no, I'm not going to join a coven now. Like, I'm the opposite. I'm the opposite witch now. I'm like, I'm a lone wolf. I do these things on my own now. Because it is, as I was saying on actually Albion's Keeper, like, mysticism and stuff like that used to be like frowned upon. Like, I would never even say that I was a psychic before, or I was into witchcraft because like, oh yeah, weirdo. Now it's posery.
It's almost become a trend, hasn't it?
Yeah, you see all these people online like, oh my god, I'm so into witchcraft and that. I'm like, I've been into this since I was a kid. Like, and it's just like all of a sudden now you're into it. And
good for business though, I suppose.
It is very good for business. So yeah, I like that side of it. But yeah, the other side of it is kind of like, you were the people that would laugh at me, and now you're all up into it and doing your little tarot of the day and stuff. And I'm like, I've been doing tarot cards since I was like 10 years old. It's like,
leave it to the professionals.
Yeah, leave it to the professionals. It's nice that people are more open to it. I definitely like that.
Yeah, for sure.
Because yeah, it's good for business, but it's also good because I can talk about it more now. Like, I never like preach about it and say you must believe in it. But it's nice that I can, when people say, what do you do for a job? I'm like, oh, I'm a psychic medium, tarot reader. And they're like, oh, yeah, that's cool. Whereas before that would be like, oh, yeah, I don't believe in any of that rubbish. You still get that now, but not as much. But yeah, the coven thing, is usually what used to happen is you do it on certain days, like solstices or equinoxes, and you join together under the full moon or the new moon. And say spells and, like dance around fires and stuff like that. But yeah, it's just so much more different than that now.
Is it only the one coven you've been in?
Yeah, like before that, like I wasn't really that interested, and now I'm just like, yeah, it's not for me. And some witchy people though, like true witches, they go from coven to coven. Right. Because sometimes it's like the group of people doesn't suit them. So they'll go to another one where it's a bit more them. So sometimes people do move around a little bit with covens, which is like cool. That's like fine.
Yeah.
But I think that's like anything though. Sometimes it just doesn't suit. So you never know in the future. I might find people that I'm like, yes, they're really cool. I know some clients of mine in London, they're in a coven, but proper coven, like witchy stuff. Not anything kind of like everyone's, hugging and saying, well done you. It's more, we're getting down to business. We're doing the spells. They'll go out into
the woods. Is it mainly just about like manifesting and stuff?
Yeah, so it's like manifesting, and it could be helping your fellow person in the coven as well.
Right, okay.
So if someone's got a problem, then the group will help them, but more in a witchy way. So yeah, like these days now people might be like, oh, let's all like hold hands and you know, say nice things about this person or whatever, whereas a coven will do a spell for them together, and it's building energy, a coven. So one person sometimes hasn't got enough energy to manifest something. You need a few people to do it for you. That's where covens are really good, because it manifests it quicker with more people. But as a psychic, to be fair, I can kind of do it easy peasy on my own. It's, if you're not that psychic or bring in energy all the time, it's more difficult. So a coven will be perfect. And you might see results a little bit quicker. Whereas, like for me, it's, I can go without it if I want to. I don't really, that's not being arrogant or anything. It's just the way it is. Like when you're a medium, you attract spirits all the time, and then they help out and then bring in more and more and more energy. And
you've almost got your own coven just following
yeah, I'll
around.
probably blow the coven up, to be fair. Like everyone's hands would be burnt if I touch them. Maybe that's why I don't really do other spiritual practices with big groups and stuff too, because I think, do you really want to cry? It can be a bit difficult, or people get funny. Like I always say, whenever I join a group, I used to be in a tarot circle years ago when I was like developing. Everyone used to cry. Like, and they're like, we've never had anyone cry like that before. And it's like, because I'm drawing down on their energy. That's like what happens. That's why sometimes you'll get a coven leader, or like you get it in druid circles as well. You get the leader because they're just like them all powerful, or they've been there the longest or whatever. So that usually is good for a coven as well.
So is a witch coven a strictly female thing?
No, men do it as well.
So what is a male witch? Is that a wizard?
Yeah, so male witches can just still be called witch. A witch. But yeah, I like to call them wizards because I just think of Merlin.
Yeah.
But yeah, they are just male witches. But I still say wizard.
I like that
like
more,
Harry Potter, isn't it?
Yeah. Witches and wizards.
Yeah, that's what it is. But yeah, they're male witches. But yeah, men and women, like that's the thing. People are very like, oh, it's only women that do it. Like you could join a coven tomorrow and be accepted. Some covens, it might be all female. They might say, no, we don't want any men out of safety or protection or whatever. But a lot of covens are quite open. They're like men and women.
So I assume it's quite a common thing you could bump into, but then at the same time, maybe not in terms of the covens that are actually out there going and doing stuff. Yeah,
and also you might need to be invited as well.
Right.
So you could be like, I want to join a coven. They'd be like, yeah, come along. But they might not accept you. They might be like, no, you've not got the energy for us. I don't like it.
So how would one go about getting an invite or trying to join a coven?
So you're friends with.
Right, okay.
So whoever you're friends with. Also, you can look online, you know, and you might say, really interested in this group. It's near where I live. Could I join? They might say, yeah, pop along. Or they might say, no, get lost.
Right.
It's very cliquey. It's a bit like a group of teenagers at school that you get in the corner, a bit like the craft.
Just the same as getting in like a friendship group.
Yeah, it is. It is. And it is who you know, if you get accepted into a coven or not. Like, the one I was a part of, you know, it's because of who we knew and wanted to set something up. And then it just wasn't for me. And I was just like, oh, no, I'll leave. But that suits them, though, that are in that one. So that's fine. But it's just not for me. But yeah, it wasn't like, I was like, can I join? You just usually get accepted into them, but yeah, you can ask. Like if you don't ask, you don't get, you know. Some people might be really open to it, or you can get like, you know, spiritualist groups and stuff like that. They're usually very accepting. They love people coming in and asking. So if you wanted to join a spiritualist group, you know, doing mediumship stuff, they're like, come on down, like we love it. But yeah, covens are a bit more kind of like, we do these weird spells and, you know, we should be able to handle it.
So here's a question for you, because you've obviously got the gift of psychic, and a lot of people don't. Majority of people obviously don't, but there almost seems to be, with this coming trend of mysticism and psychic becoming such a big trend, everyone seems to be psychic nowadays. Yeah. How much do you believe that people can actually hone that skill naturally? Or do you believe it is just something you're born with, and if you don't have it, you don't have it whatsoever? My belief, personally, some people may disagree with this, is you are born with it. A lot of people, they'll have moments in their life where they're like, oh my God, that came true, or whatever. I'm like, that's very fleeting. I'm getting it every minute of the day. So I could sit here right now and look at you, and like all these things are coming up in my head right now. But obviously I don't say it because we're not in a reading or anything like that. But yeah, I think a lot of it is
just going on a trend for some people. And this is why people are a backlash can be against it, because they see them on there and it's like, well, none of that's come true yet, or or you just give me a false thing, or you're being overly positive, and it's not correct. I'm like, yeah, because they're not psychic, they're not a medium. It's actually quite a hard life actually being a psychic medium. It's not all airy fairy and herbs and nice little videos on Instagram. It's actually being woken up about 10 times in the night by spirit, or having last week I had a really difficult reading with someone who's going really through it at the moment, and I thought, could you deal with that? That is about being a psychic medium. A lot of it's, I think true psychic mediums also hide quite a lot as well, what they do in their work. So I can always tell the genuine ones. So those are the ones I add on Instagram, because they're not all flashy and do post every single day. The ones that do them every single day are trying to prove a point. I'm like, you don't need to do that. I post about twice a week sometimes. But yeah, you can tell those genuine ones that genuinely care about what they do and have had it for a long time, since childhood, and will put their childhood stories up and things like that, and also have a normal life as well. Like some psychic mediums you see online, they're just going about their normal life and might just post I did a reading today. And I really like these, because I think, yeah, that's my life. You do go shopping and you do have arguments and you do have these types of things going on. And there's a woman in LA that I really like. She's a celebrity demon cleaner type person. And she just shows her normal life and stuff. And then again, I go, oh, I've had loads of spirits in today, and they've been a right pain in the backside and all the rest of it. And I think that is genuine. You're not trying to prove a point to me. You're just kind of saying it as it is, really. But yeah, there's just so much rubbish out there. It's just terrible. But yeah, that's the thing that you didn't get in the past.
Yeah.
That's why I've developed the way I am, because I felt no, I need to prove that this is it and it's genuine.
Yeah, for sure.
But there's other people, they've just done it in since lockdown, where they feel I'm extra spiritual now because I've had a spiritual awakening. And when people say I've had a spiritual awakening, I'm like, oh my God, here we go. That's it. Nah, there's no such thing really. You're spiritually awoken from the day you're born, if you've got the gift.
Do you think people can have that but almost suppress it to the point where maybe one day they do awake that part of them?
Well, I did. So I had it from very young childhood, so 4 or 5 years old, probably before then, but obviously you don't notice when you're that little, do you? Or even remember. So I had it then, and then I tried to suppress it. I was still getting bits through though. Right. That's the thing. When you try and suppress it, you still get bits through, and then I went into it. So that can happen. You do see that quite a bit with some psychics that are in their 40s, and I've always had it, but I've just, suppressed it, and now I've got to do it again. I think, okay, that's fine, because you still had it since you were younger, and now you're just back on it again. But then when people just say, oh, I'm 40 or 50, and now I've got the gift, no, it doesn't just arrive, randomly. Some people can get it if they've had, near-death experiences and that. Sometimes it awakens something in them. I've had that a few times where I see people, and I'm like, that does seem genuine, and you do seem quite good. But that's very rare. You get things like that where they feel like they've crossed over to the other side and they've had all this information and it does come true. I think that can be quite genuine. Right. But yeah, I think if you're just going on a trend, or you've had a moment and now all of a sudden you're getting stuff, I think, or just stick to astrology, because anyone can do astrology. Yeah. Look that up. But yeah, it's horrible for real psychic mediums out there. It's, you've got a lot of people pinging up, but then the real ones last longer. I've been doing this nearly all my life now, and other psychic mediums I know as well been doing it nearly all their life, and we last because it's genuine. But the ones that falter, are usually the ones where it is late and then they can't handle it, and they think, oh no, this is getting a bit too much for me, I don't like it now. Because it is hard. It's very hard work. It's not easy. I think people just say, oh, tell me something about somebody, or or do the cards, whatever, and it's it's way more than that. It's deep. You see the most gory, gruesome stuff every day. It's quite traumatic. You have to deal with people with traumatizing stories, a bit like being a counselor, people that have had been assaulted, or have only on their last few months to live, stuff like that, and you've got to be so careful how you talk to these people and how you work it, it's not all airy fairy and, you know, oh, you'll be fine if you, you know, turn around in circles 10 times and, you know, take these herbs or whatever.
Yeah, for sure. You're dealing with people's real lives.
Yeah, you're dealing with people's real lives and you've got to be sensitive to that. And a lot of psychics out there aren't. You see them on Instagram and it's just like cringe. And you feel you can't say that to somebody like that. If I did that in a reading, they would get up and walk out. So yeah, it's very hard work, and the ones that really put the effort in, you can see that, and the other ones, I just forget about those.
So how would you go about if someone came to you and they were asking for your advice, asking for, you know, how their future is panning out, and all you're getting is bad things, everything is coming through horrible, how would you deliver that news, or how would you sort of skirt about that without being just blunt to the point?
A lot of the time people say, well, you know, just stop the reading. And I've done that a couple times where I've stopped it, so I can't do it anymore. Usually it's because they've got an attitude as well when they walk in. Right. Sometimes when people have an attitude when they walk in, even before I've done anything, I'm like, something wrong with you. Something not right. Don't like it. And then I'll do it and I'm like, no, I'm not doing any more of the reading. You'll have to leave now. And then other times people are very nice and then it comes up terrible, like awful. And I have to skirt around it a little bit. I'll just say, I think this could be happening around this time. So it could be like, maybe check your health around here. Won't go too deep into it. I wouldn't ever say to anyone, oh, you're going to die soon. You've got riddled with cancer. What the hell are you going to do? I'd never ever say that because that's stupid. That's what fake psychics do as well. They do stupid stuff like that. But I would just mainly kind of focus more on the positives. Like I had one lady who came to me. It was awful. Her cards were awful. Her energy was really bad. I didn't like the reading. I just talked about her kids the whole time. And I was just, oh, you know, your kids, they're going to be doing this, that, and the other. And she's like really happy with the reading. And she died a few months later. She killed herself.
Wow. Yeah.
And it was all through the cards she was going to do it as well. But she'd done that. A friend came to see me and told me that had happened. Luckily I just talked about children and a lot of people that are very severely, you know, have been unwell. You just talk about other things that are going on, like, you're going to go on holiday, or
almost like focusing on the positives rather than the
focus on the positives rather than the negatives. You know, some bad things do come up, but they can get resolved. So sometimes people's health will come up, but I'll say, oh, right, maybe check this out this month in certain areas. And then after that, actually, you're all right. Doesn't look too bad. And like, oh, okay. So then they get it done and like, yeah, that happened. No, yeah, I'm fine. Like, it's good. It's not a problem. So yeah, you do get that quite a bit. And I'm like, don't focus on the negative bit that I've said. Focus on the outcome. As long as you get it seen to, you'll be fine. But usually, a lot of the time, it's stuff they already know.
Right.
So sometimes people have come to me. I had one lady, my chest was killing me, and under my arms, I was like, somebody had lumps, bumps in that area, and she went, yeah, I've had cancer, and it's been terrible, and all the rest of it. And and it came up again, but she said, yeah, I've just had another test, and it's come back. But she's like, how the hell did you know that? No one knows that at all. Like, nobody knows that. But then she's fine. She's all good, and it was nice. It's all positive. Like, you know, you get regular people coming back going, yeah, that was right, and you know, that was fine. And with deaths and stuff, a lot of the time when people come to see me, it can actually be that they won't see me at all. If they're going to, you do get some slip through the net,
right?
That could have something really, really bad wrong, and I think like sometimes it's a test from spirit. They're like saying, right, you have to have a few of these a year just to see how it goes, and then other times people are cancel or just not turn up for an appointment. And then later on, you'll hear from someone who recommended them or whatever saying, God, they passed away. And I was like, God, no wonder they didn't come. It's because you're not allowed to be anywhere near them to tell them or slip through the net. Some spirits don't trust you enough to be like, no, you might tell them. They might get an inkling. I want it to be a surprise. That's the element sometimes for spirit or above their energy is they like it to be a surprise. They don't want you to know that you're going to die or anything like that. Like one of my best mates died and everyone was saying, did you know? And I was like, the only thing I knew is I kept seeing crows all the time squawking, like just really loud. And I thought, oh, someone's definitely going to go. But there were things at the time distracting me, like other people have passed away. And I thought, it must be that. But I think that was actually spirit saying, I don't want you to know. Because you'll tell her.
Keeping you away.
You'll tell her that something's wrong, but she has to die. So you do get that quite a bit. That's why people always say, could I have stopped it? Could I have done this? Could I have done that? And I'm like, no, because they didn't want you to know. So everything is fated in your life. And sometimes, you can get in there and turn things a little bit. And then other times you're not allowed to. Sometimes people have to go or they have to suffer. And that's not our place, my place to tell them that all the time. Sometimes, you do tell people things, but then other times, you just leave it and you just let fate take its course. And
from what you know of, is there cases of people almost averting death? Like maybe they were fated to be hit by a car, but for some reason they just didn't or avoided that. Yeah,
you get that quite a lot, but it always gets them in the end.
Final Destiny style.
Yeah, it is. Wow. Me and Josh were actually talking about it, weirdly enough, the other day. So everyone knows they're a millennial. Like, if they see a truck with wood on the back, like, they just know. But you do get that where people are like, God, that nearly happened. But then later on down the line, then they're ill, and then something happens. But like real close stuff, and you think, God. Like, that's like really strange. Or people that have been so severely unwell and then they've recovered. It's like a miracle. And then 6 months later, they're hit by a truck.
Yeah.
And you're like, and I was like, they're like, ha ha ha, no, you can't fool me.
Yeah, can't get away for too long.
Yeah, and then other times people will avert death, but it's not funny. But sometimes spirit do have a giggle about it because they're a bit morbid like that. Where people do avert and they're like, actually, that was an accident. That was a genuine accident. Wow. That shouldn't have happened, and we weren't there. We were like looking at somebody else, not you, and we just missed it. So you do get those times, and sometimes I do see clients where they've averted things. So I'm like, I'm so sorry, that was just like an accident from spirit. That wasn't really supposed to happen.
Wow.
So they weren't actually supposed to die or be severely ill or anything like that. But they do put them through it sometimes like that, and or to learn a lesson. Sometimes karma can play a role in things like that as well. Sometimes I've had quite bad people come to see me and they're like, oh my God, I've escaped this, that and the other. And I'm like, they done that to you. There's a bit of witchery about that, where you can intercept energies and make things like that. Or they teach you a lesson by like, right, we'll give them a shock. And if they don't, act, behave themselves, we'll do something else. Right. And then something else, and then something else until they learn their lesson. So I've had that a few times with people, where people have been really cruel and nasty to certain people and things have happened. And then, they've either learned their lesson or they keep having bad luck all the time.
Essentially karma.
Yeah, all the time you get that. So you get the karma ones, you get the ones that are fated. It depends. Yeah, I can tell the difference though.
Okay.
Their energy is completely different. The karma ones have similar energy to like a normal person.
Right.
It feels like you're all right. You're just annoying and horrible. And then the other ones, the energy is just black and grey.
Wow. Around
them. You're just like, don't like that. They don't want to be near you. Yeah. And they stink sometimes as well. They don't actually humanly stink, but I can smell it psychically that something isn't right and they need to go.
This goes quite well into another thing that I'd written down for this week, which is getting jinxed. Yeah. Now, you've spoken about that before, and we've spoken about different things like being cursed.
Yeah.
But what actually is getting jinxed? How do you get jinxed, and what does it mean?
Getting jinxed is more like if you're naughty.
Right.
So if you've done, I would say this to your brother all the time, actually. If he says anything sly or a bit mean, I'm like, you jinxed now. And then he'll fall over or stub his toe, like things like that. And I don't know if that's me doing that with my energy or it's spirit going.
That'd be so funny if it was.
Yeah.
If every time he annoys you a little bit, like, oh, mate, you stub your toe.
Yeah. Or bang his head on something like, oh
yeah,
my God. So poor Josh, like, your brother is like constantly being jinxed all the time. But being jinxed as well can be things you do that you shouldn't be messing with. So a lot of people that do Ouija boards or seances and things like that, I always say, you're jinxed.
Wow.
You've jinxed yourself because you brought in bad energy. So jinxed isn't as bad as being cursed, because a curse is like an intention. Right. So I could be like, Nathaniel, I curse you now, like, you know, like really horrible like that, and then it might work. But proper bad. Being jinxed is like you've just got nothing but things happening all the time. So for instance, you know, I felt jinxed because our car crashed twice, but actually I think that's more fated or divine intervention.
Yeah.
But or like, you know, someone we know, you know, breaking their arm, getting electrocuted, dropping their keys down a hole, you know, stuff like that. That is jinxed.
Right.
Because they've opened up a portal at some point, or they've done something to somebody, and that energy is jinxed, like all the time. That energy is just off. It doesn't feel right. And also when I read people as well, jinxed energy doesn't feel like normal energy.
Right.
So if it's weird, they feel like a bit like kinked, like that.
Right. Okay.
When I see them, so you're not jinxed. You're quite
Good.
normal.
Nice. That is exactly what I wanted to
Even
hear.
really lovely people, like the loveliest people you could meet, could be jinxed.
Wow.
Yeah, because you think, what have you done? What have you done before?
Yeah. Just constantly stuff going wrong.
Yeah, or they could even have like a negative mental like attitude to something and jinx themselves by doing that. Like, you know, it's people that, you know, they say they're accident prone and they fall over and trip over and they do this and that, and I'm like, you jinxed. Jinxed yourself. When that comes in,
That's
you're not
so funny
cursed,
that it's like funny that it's like a baby curse.
Yeah,
where
it
like
is.
you're not actually getting anything too bad go on, but you're just falling over
Cursed
all the time.
Junior, like yeah, because it's not like you've necessarily done anything terrible. It could just be like you've done something like a Ouija board, or you've had a negative outlook on something, or you've touched something that you shouldn't have touched. Like a lot of people, when they like, I can't buy anything secondhand. I've got like a thing about it.
Yeah.
You know, not being horrible to the environment or anything like that. But yeah, I always feel like, it could be jinxed. That pot or that piece of clothing. Like I need to have it cleansed, and it could just be something weird about it. Don't like it. So it could jinx you or make you feel like you're having constant problems like, all the time. And people say, how do I unjinx myself? And it's like, jinxed people don't always unjinx themselves. Curses are easier to live than a jinx.
Right. Uh-oh.
Yeah, so some people just have it from birth a little bit as well. It could even be the moon they're born under, or the day they're born on as well could be a bit jinxed. Like, I always feel like number 8 people sometimes are jinxed. Like they're born on, my mum always used to say, has a saying, you're born on the 8th, you die on the 8th.
Right, okay.
Like on an 8th day, or like you're jinxed for life if you're born on an 8th day.
Right.
Like you've got that jinx. But that's like old wivesy, like my family's tales. Like my family is so into superstitions and stuff. Like my whole life as like a child was like, don't step on that crack. Don't do that. You're jinxed. Like it's, you're not cursed, but you could have like incidents throughout the day that won't kill you or make you really unwell, but just enough to make you go, can you just leave me alone right now? Like, this is really annoying. So yeah, you do get that quite a bit.
Interesting. Well, I'm glad we went into that.
Yeah.
We're going to go into 2 more tracks now before we come back for our final bit of mystical chat for the day.
The Mystic Hour. Stars, spirits, and souls.
Welcome everyone back to the Mystic Hour with me and Claire. We've already been speaking for half an hour, so it's been a really good episode. I think we've been going from topic to topic.
Yes.
Like I said to you, one of the things that I wanted to cover shortly today as well was past lives, which I know we touched on shortly when you were on Albion's Keeper, Paul's show recently. But I just wanted to go a little bit deeper into it because I know this is sort of this is what this is for, essentially, to go into things a little bit deeper that maybe we touch on slightly in other shows. So past lives, break it down for me. How often could you have a past life? How many past lives do people usually have?
It's limitless. So you could have loads and loads and loads. Some people have 2. Some people have 20. Some people have 200 probably.
Wow.
Like I said on Paul's show, like that's why people say, oh, well, you know, why can't you see cavemen or people like that? I'm like, probably because they've had about 20 past lives since then.
So they could still be rocking about, but they'd just be...
Yeah,
they would obviously just be into society as normal. Yeah,
so, like you can, like mine, I've only had 2 before. And you think for a psychic medium of about like 10 or whatever, but actually I've only had 2 and they've been pretty good ones, like quite spiritual ones. And then other people that I see sometimes, or, you know, you feel their energy, they've like had loads and loads and loads. And I'm like, you've been naughty in the past. I always think actually the naughtiest people are usually the ones that are the most
Really?
nice.
So why is that?
Because they always want to learn how to be better in the next one.
Right.
Or they just want to try something different. Like, because sometimes it just doesn't feel right. You know, you pass over and it's all lovely and heavenly and everything's, you know, nice. But actually you got that bit of that regret still lingering. Think, oh, do you know what? I shouldn't have attacked all those people. Or I shouldn't have been so murderous, really. So they might come back and be like, do you know what? I want to be a nice housewife, quiet and live in peace. Or you might have had a really terrible life before. You might have been really ill or suffered. And you think, no, I want to come back and I want to enjoy how it is down here on the earth. You know, maybe there might be bad bits, but I don't want as many as I used to have. So sometimes people come back and do that and do it again and just live a happy, quiet life. And sometimes that's why you see people, they never get, in a relationship or get married or they live alone. You think in their past life, it must have been chaotic.
Right.
And they're living in solitude now. And before they pass over again and they join everyone, just because they just need that silence or that break. So I never see it as a bad thing if I ever see anybody like that. Society wants us in groups all the time, but actually our past life might indicate the life we're having now. So, you've got your life now because maybe it was like you were in a war or something before and you think, you know what? No, I just want to chill out in my dressing gown at home. And not have the hassle. Or I want to be on the radio because
that's a really good excuse. Anytime I'm being lazy now, I'm just gonna say I was in a war in a past life.
I was really ill, and it's like, do you know what? I want to relax. So get off my case, mum. This is my new life now. And I was told in a past life I was a priest. The quietness and things like that, and I thought that's actually a bit like me now.
I was gonna say that's not too dissimilar.
I like to just kind of hide away and just be quiet, really. And that's another thing with past lives as well, is sometimes you might repeat certain things but do it differently. So obviously a priest back then wouldn't be in a relationship or anything, whereas I'm in a relationship now, but I still like a bit of quiet. So you could take on certain things like that, or yours could be you were into music in a past life, and I now I'm on the radio. Look at that. So you can do things like that. But a lot of people, it takes years and years to come back. It's not instant. It wouldn't be in the next 5 years or whatever if you died. Could be 50, 500 years. It could be anything like that, or never at all. Some people never want to come back. They're like, this is just too much hassle down here for me. I'd rather just stay up there and just chill out. But a lot of people do that. But everyone's different.
So do people leave fingerprints of their past lives on their real lives now, do you think?
Yeah, sometimes there's a saying, if you have a birthmark, it used to be, that's where you've died. In your past life. So people have a birthmark on their head, or here's you've been stabbed there in the head or hit on the head or whatever, and I don't have a birthmark. So it's maybe I suffocated then.
Birthmarks
poisoned. I was poisoned in my past life.
Do you think that's why people have fears as well? Maybe fears of things they don't.
I think so. Why you have anxiety. I'm anxious about everything. But I don't know if that's because I see spirits all the time and they're just telling me all these gruesome, gory things all the time. And I think, stay away from that. So I'm overly cautious about everything. Or it could be my past life because I was scared, I was told that I was in a priest hole. So where they used to hide, when you couldn't be a Catholic, and hide away because you were scared of everything and people were going to kill you. And I think, maybe that's a bit of that still going on. Maybe that's a bit I don't trust you. I don't trust to say certain things or whatever. Maybe that's a bit of me, I do think sometimes. But I always get that where I just get a little bit of past life coming in and out now and again. But everybody does, I think. Some children are really open with their past lives, and they'll be I was an air pilot, in the war, and I got shot down, and that's the exact spot. Little tiny 4 or 5 year olds saying that, and that's why I believe it as well. It's how would they make that up? Different name, nothing to do with the family. So that's why I truly believe in it.
So here's another thing on it. How did you find out you had 2 past lives?
I was told that.
So who told you that?
A medium.
Right. So as a psychic medium, could you pick up on that for other people? Sometimes and sometimes not. Right. Past lives are really tricky though. You believe in it but it's kind of sometimes you see it and sometimes you don't, but sometimes you're not allowed to see it. Okay. It's a bit like the death thing we were on about earlier. Sometimes you're not allowed to tell people because it could affect their life. Right. So sometimes, you would tell someone, oh, you were a Viking in your past life, and then they'll start dressing like a Viking. It's well, it doesn't mean that. It means that, you might take on certain traits. You might be a bit angry now and again, or you might, like Norway, but it's don't drink. That's it influences don't
people
go around the helmet.
Like, you do get silly people that do that. So that's why I think sometimes spirit are like, no, they don't need to know that. Just let them carry on. And that a friend of mine, she did past life regression.
All right.
And she just found out she was just a maid, like a cook's maid.
Right.
And I thought that's actually probably true because it's not too far fetched. And she said maybe that's why I like cooking all the time. Yeah.
Can you think of any
that.
examples you know of people that have lived past lives? Any like people you've found?
Yeah, so I did a reading once and she asked me and I just went really deep into it. So spirit can sometimes show you if it's the right person. And she was a Victorian woman when she came through, and it was actually a bit boring, but she was quite happy with it. She was like, oh, cool. And I said, you had loads of kids? And she went, I didn't even know that she had like 5 kids down here. And I thought, oh, you're just repeating your life again.
Right.
Yeah, I did get things like that now and again, or I see things in people and I'm like, you were definitely like a warrior, or you were definitely like a horrible person or a peasant or something in a past life. Can always read people like that. The most horrible people like in this world, I always think, you still haven't learned your lesson.
Right.
So you were definitely horrible in your past life as well. Usually horrible people come back.
Would they,
just a little less.
Would they come back like in a worse position? Like if you were a bad person in your past life, would you be more likely to be born into poverty or something like that? Yeah,
you can be. You can work 2 ways. You can, sometimes spirits in limbo will get a choice. So you can go to the other side, or you can be reborn again. So when they're reborn again, they can like just be reborn into a similar person that they are, but try and change it, and then they can go to the other side when they die. Or sometimes they're punished, and you can come back as somebody impoverished, or this or that, or have nothing but problems in their life sometimes as a test. Or then sometimes good spirits come back and they say, I want to suffer to learn. They do that.
Right.
I don't know why. I wouldn't. I'd be like...
yeah.
Like,
I'd be quite happy just chilling out.
So you do get some very spiritual people like that in heaven that are like, I want to come back and suffer. But no, I wouldn't want to do that.
No, I don't think that's for me either.
Yeah, you get some people that probably like priests or, vicars or whatever, they probably do that. But they came back just to say, I need to know. And then when I cross over, I will not come again. Like I won't be reborn again. But yeah, you see things like that or stories. But yeah, sometimes I can read people and just know instantly what they've been. Not the exact person, but know what group they're in.
Right, okay.
You can see it on TV sometimes as well. Certain people that come back to life again, but it's like horrible people.
Wow.
I'm like, yeah, you've definitely been in limbo a long time, and you were just like, I need to change, I need to come back to life again now. So they'll do that, and then like people forget though, like your memory's wiped, but certain like the radio waves come in now and again and remind you of it, or like you'll be attracted to certain things. You're like me, for instance. I don't know if it's because I've had another past life, but I love anything World War II.
Right.
As a woman, you wouldn't think. You think it's a bit strange. Ever since I was a little kid, tiny, I've been obsessed with it. So I don't know why that is.
Yeah.
So that could be another past life that someone's not tapped into yet. That I've had, that I've been a soldier or had some involvement and probably died in that time and then come back in the 80s or whatever. But yeah, so you get that quite a bit too. Or
so once you do pass over, would you gain knowledge of your past lives again?
Yeah, so you could do. So when you pass over, everything is known. So when you cross, everything is known to you. Some things are kept a secret still. So sometimes I get spirits come through. They're like, I actually don't know. Like, so they're hiding it from me. I'm not allowed to know that at the moment. Then other times they just keep talking about it and talking about it and talking about it. And yeah, everything's known to you because you can be trusted. And then if you can't be trusted, you get sent back. It's more of an energy up there than it is down here. It's more trickier to get hold of people here than it is in spirit. So yeah, in spirit, you're sent back to limbo or you're back to life. And here it's kind of like the only thing you can do really is die. So,
right.
So it's like you can't really be punished until you're over there, and it's like a bit like admin. They got all the paperwork they got to sort out and everything. So I always think, people. That's why people get away with more on the earth plane,
right,
than they do in spirit.
Interesting.
Because they're harder to nab.
So theoretically, if someone passed away and they gained knowledge of their past life, they would also gain knowledge of the people they'd met in their past lives, and they would have contact with them.
It can be, sometimes and sometimes not. sometimes if you've had a past life and then you go and, you died, you come back and you've died again, sometimes they wipe it. And
Right.
it's like, yeah, I know I knew them, but that's not my life anymore. This is my new spiritual life.
Right.
Your life down here is the same as your spiritual life over there. So you'll know things, but you might distance yourself from it. So you might not talk to them or see them. That happens quite a bit, actually, when some spirits die. They don't even talk to people as much as they might have done on the earth plane.
Almost like a full reset.
Yeah, it is like a full reset. So but to leave it alone. Or sometimes you can, talk to them again or whatever if you want to. But a lot of people don't. I never really see, in readings, I don't see that a lot.
Right.
Rarely, if ever. Usually they go back to their new families or whatever. Or, as I said on Paul's show, sometimes those families are reborn anyway with you. So they were in your past life. So a lot of the time it's like, I don't need to meet any of them because they're here with me now. So I know them again. So like you could know your mum and your dad in your past life as the same people or different people. So you wouldn't need to revisit, medieval times or whatever because your mum and dad came back with you.
Interesting.
So, yeah.
Wow, I think that's actually a really good place to leave it for this week. That's been really interesting. I feel like we've covered 3 different topics, but
life.
really well. Yeah, we've done really well there. We, of course, have one last track to play us out. But before we go into it, I want to remind everyone that is listening to the show on the radio. We always put out the Mystical Chats on YouTube. You can always check that out on the Aspen Waite Radio YouTube channel. Get in touch, let us know what questions do you want answered on the Mystical Show. That could be quite a cool show to do, like a fan answered question one. So make sure to get in touch for that. Don't forget to join us on Tuesday, where we'll be doing our Tarot Tuesday show as always. Whether you were listening on a Thursday or a Sunday today, I hope you had a great day, and we shall catch up with you soon. Goodbye.